Ready in three, two, one. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of Burning Hint Fantasy Football. I'm here with Scott Hinty. Let's recap last week. Looks like you have a better week than I did, but we were pretty much on the same wavelength.
Yeah,
So,
we picked everyone the same except for my game where I made sure to not take confidence in my team, and that was the right choice. So I got that one right. Other than that, we got all of them right except for we did not think Chris Gregg was going to beat Kuzi, and Chris Gregg won.
yeah. Derek Carr not looking too good, and that Tennessee defense laid a goose egg versus Houston. That's tough, but Rob Matz, three in a row. All hail
Yeah.
the comeback, and then I'm disappointed in myself, but I digress. Um, let's go over to waivers. So not a ton that happened in waivers. There was a big bid for Taylor Heineke for some reason. The Bears defense for this week, Herrera got that, and then he lost out on. I don't think I've ever seen this actually before on getting the Eagles defense because he had too many roster spots. But I guess he wanted the Bears defense. Who gives a shit?
Yeah.
Um, and then some big kicker talk. Michael Badgley getting taken and dropping Matt Prater. Anything that jumps out on you for waivers?
Not really. I mean, there wasn't really much this week, and I mean, like a lot of defensive moves, but that just makes sense. So.
Yeah. All right. Let's get into the week. And I'm facing off Kuzi for a pretty important matchup, and it's not looking good for me with all my running backs getting hurt. So right now I'm starting Coleman and Madison, still hoping that maybe Cook, will take a game off or the allegations stir something, but it's gonna be a tough one for me to pull off. What do you see? What do you dislike or like?
Um, just I mean, I'm looking at your team. You really are facing like a lot of injuries here, but you do have some pretty good matchups at wide receiver this week. I mean, Deontay Johnson's just, I mean, he's consistent, but you have McLaurin against Seattle, which I think is a pretty good matchup right there. And I think you will need to win the wide receiver battle by a lot if you want a chance. Um, but yeah, you running backs is definitely killing you. Having to start Coleman and Madison is just brutal. But
Yeah.
I mean, on Kuzi's side, I'd say it's hard for me to look at. I feel like the Raiders have just completely fallen apart. So it's hard for me to trust Derek Carr even with a good matchup.
It's a weird. He's got Derek Carr and the Dallas defense, so that's gonna sort of counteract each other a little bit. So if one of them has a bad game, maybe the other one will have a
Yeah,
good game. But then there's Barkley, who's still we're sort of waiting, but hopefully this is the week. I mean, Tampa Bay was going to be tough no matter what.
yeah, that's
So
a tough matchup.
if he's healthy, I could be probably totally fucked. But he's playing Elijah Moore, which is kind of nice for me because he just had one. Oh man, he's been going off. So I'll probably get
Yeah,
screwed there
no,
too.
Elijah Moore is not. Elijah Moore is a must start at this point. He has completely taken over, and he's
Yeah, I saw the big week last week, but I did not know he was having a big week every week.
yeah, he's completely taken over. He's definitely a like full go at this point. I think the only question is when Zach Wilson comes back, if Elijah Moore is still the best target,
Yeah.
because Zach Wilson just didn't look good early in the season, and it's you never know if he comes back if that just tanks Elijah Moore's season right now.
So let's hope Zach Wilson comes back. Yeah. But Kuzi's still got like a loaded. Oh, his roster, man. Maybe I should trade someone from his team today because he's got good running backs, Drake and Mitchell, that are both better than mine on his bench. But um, Yeah, I'm assuming we're both going to be. I'm not going to have confidence in my team this week, unless Kamara somehow plays, but I don't see that happening.
I don't see Kamara playing, so I'm gonna go with Kuzi.
I'm going with Kuzi as well. All right, we're going to make this. So the first game's going to be quick, but this next game looks really good. Stein versus the Cat Dog. Um, Basically even freaking 1 point differential in projections, which is crazy. You got Lamar Jackson coming off the illness. We'll see what happens with that. What do you like? What do you dislike?
Um, I just to start with, I'm really on board with Stein's team. Like looking at it going the rest of the season, like Jamar Chase is obviously like set a new precedent for rookie wide receivers, which really kind of underplays like what Devonta Smith is doing slash what I think he will end up doing. Like he's the number one target. Granted, it is the Eagles, but I mean the Giants are a plus matchup. Then he gets the Jets bye week, Washington Giants, Washington. I look at Devonta Smith as a key player for Stein throughout the rest of the season. Um, and if he can end up breaking out to the level that even like getting somewhat close to what Jamar Chase has done this year, Stein looks pretty good the rest of for that playoff run. Um, but I'm leaning towards Stein just because he has some plus matchups. Um, and it's hard for me to get back on board with DJ Moore after what he's kind of done this year. I know he does have Cam now, but it's hard to say.
Yeah, he had a good game last week. He got a touchdown out of it, which was good because that's sort of like his issue. But I really like Stein's team outside of Galladay. I just don't think he can really be trusted.
No, I don't think you can trust him either.
It's such a disappointment, and he's got stuff he can move around on his bench, like cutting Lindsay, who just got cut, would be good. But honestly, like even throwing Gasicki in on the flex is not like a terrible idea at this point. Especially against Carolina. Shaq Thompson had a pretty bad game, but their linebackers in general aren't that good outside Shaq Thompson, so Gasicki should have some success. And I love the it kind of sucks that McKissick and Gibson like fumbled last week, and basically didn't get a carry for the rest of the first half, so that like killed a little bit of his fantasy output, but his like production was still exactly what you're looking for, you know. He had almost 100
Yeah.
yards with like less than 50% snap count. So but it's funny that there's the Chase and Smith who are like coming on the second half, but it looks like Justin Jefferson like last week was insane. Just made like one of the
Yeah.
craziest catches like I've seen. Hunter Henry is starting to look like a favorite target of Mac Jones. It's a little bit inconsistent just because they don't really
He's
throw the ball that much, but
he's touchdown dependent. Like he's not going to go out there and get you. Like I think I'm looking at this. Just pulled up his stats. He's had one game over 50 yards all season. It looks like.
yeah.
So he's not going to get you a lot of like receptions and like yards to kind of give you a baseline. But I mean, most games he's ending up with a touchdown reception, which that's all you need at the tight end position.
Yeah. It's crazy how high
I
he
will,
is in the rankings. Just tight ends is a
yeah,
weird position.
I will say Brandon Ayuk is he was horrible the start of the season, but it sounds like they've had like him and Shanahan have like talked it out and figured things out, and he's practicing better. So Shanahan is starting to use him more.
Yeah, his
So
snap count's finally where it should be, at least.
yeah,
I mean, this is probably like a really, I think this is a really tough matchup to pick. But I would say if he goes, I mean, maybe you play Galladay, maybe you do Gasicki, but I like Stein's team a little bit more, just in terms of, really comes down to the running back, I guess, reliability. Like AJ Dillon, I'm not crazy about versus
yeah,
Harris, and then Gibson versus Freeman. It's just one's just a little bit more reliable, and they're pretty like. I would also give Stein like a small difference in receiver, but not really. Like it's pretty even.
Yeah,
And then you're looking at defense and stuff like that, which
Stein
I
might want
mean,
to mix his defense up.
well, I'm not that confident in the Chicago defense to be honest. Just with the reports coming out with Nagy getting fired. Not that the defense isn't good or that the Lions are a good offense, but there just could just be a total flat, like no show is what I'm worried about.
Yeah, I can see that.
Especially if it's Dalton that's in, because it sounds like it's gonna be Dalton.
I mean, my counterpoint would be just looking at like the matchup. Besides, like Detroit's game against Pittsburgh, they've been giving up like the defenses have been scoring tons of points on them. So,
Off
and that's
Detroit.
like yeah, like defenses just against Detroit.
Yeah.
Like I have it up right here in the last 5 games, which they had a bye in there, so really it's just the last four. Uh, they've given up 10 points a game. Like so, that's like a pretty solid baseline, and it's not like Chicago has a bad defense.
Yeah. I just
Like
with the report, like I'm not saying that they're not gonna like they'll put up two, but like I'm not saying 10 is like I'm not that's one of my lesser confident teams going against Detroit, I guess.
that's fair. I mean, I would. I, that's fair, but I mean, compared to the Colts playing Tampa Bay, like that's a horrible matchup.
Yeah. That's definitely a tougher, but I do like the Colts versus Tampa Bay actually a little bit. Not because Tampa Bay is bad, but because Indy's just looking like they're starting to get a little scary. Um,
Yeah, I'll give you that. It's weird. I mean, I don't think anyone saw the Colts dominating the Bills last week,
yeah, and who knows if it's really just the Bills or the
or if
Colts.
it's the
So
Colts.
yeah, and we'll
I mean,
know a little
minus
bit.
two overtime games, I think the Colts would basically, I think they're almost on like 8 game win streak minus like two overtime losses.
Yeah, it was like the brutal Baltimore game. And they beat Miami, and then I mean they've won a lot in a row. The Tennessee game,
Yeah,
yeah.
Tennessee game.
Yeah,
So,
and that was just Wentz being an idiot.
yeah.
So
I think personally for this game, I'm going to go with Stein. I just think I like a few pieces on his team, especially at the matchups and just talent. I think he kind of has.
yeah, I agree. I'm sort of more closer with Stein, and then also I'm not crazy about Green Bay versus the Rams. The Rams coming off a bye week, uh, but I mean the Rodgers coming off a loss. But I don't know. It's gonna be a really interesting game to watch. I hope because it seems like every interesting game like Dallas versus Kansas City ends up being some ugly slugfest. Um, But all right, moving on, and we got the Rob Matz. Whoa, projected for 106, going against Snowball. He's coming alive. What do you like? What do you dislike?
um, I will say, just starting off, Snowball's been on a bit of a win streak right now as well. At least I'm pretty sure. I think he's won his
Yeah.
last 2 or 3 matchups. So both teams on a hot streak. Um, it's hard to get behind the team that has Naeem Hines as their number two running back. Um, but I mean, he does have man. It
Well, look at
sucks
the
that the trade
receiver.
deadline's passed because he could start Hurts or Brady any week,
Yeah,
and I think he's set at quarterback.
but I like Hines versus Tampa Bay more than because he's a catching back. You know.
I guess. I mean, I don't see how like what has Hines done recently? Like they're not using him like at all right now because Jonathan Taylor is on
It's so
like
good. Yeah.
like I'm not sure if you saw the stat. Last 8 games, he's at 100 yards and a touchdown, and that's only ever been done by him and Ladainian Tomlinson.
Yeah. Well, now he's like one of the all week they've been talking about MVP as the potential MVP candidate. Like, what's with all the QBs sort of falling on their faces? It's but I don't know. It's just something there's always like that number two pass catching back versus Tampa Bay that ends up getting like I could see him getting 7 points. I don't think that's out of the question, but I'm not saying he's gonna throw up 20 or anything. But
Yeah.
I think I like him just as much as I like Nick Westbrook, Ekine from Tennessee. So
Hey, he might be the number one target this week because it sounds like AJ Brown might be out. And at that point, like
but then New England takes out your number one target. So
that is true.
Tennessee's just in a tough spot.
So many injuries there.
Yeah.
Um, Man, I'm looking at this. I'm kind of leaning toward it. This is a tough game to call because uh, mostly because like Matt's has so many. He has a bunch of guys who specifically Evans and Brady who are in plus matchups that could absolutely go off this week. And it's hard to say what Odell's actually going to be with the Rams still. And also Zeke is banged up. So he has a lot of question marks, but also at the same time, uh, like Josh Jacobs is a good running back, but he's playing Dallas, so I project Dallas to win that game, and Josh Jacobs doesn't typically do well in games that he's in a plus matchup. CeeDee Lamb's coming off the concussion and may or may not play. So
Yeah. And Cooper is not vaccinated, so he might not play either. So Gallup could actually like a lot of things have to go right for Rob Matz. Like that's crazy. I think that Odell has a 12-point projection. Uh
I will say Cooper is actually officially out. He cannot test positive within the window to play on
oh,
Thanksgiving.
because it was Thursday. Yeah, okay. Yeah, I figured he wasn't gonna play. That's why Gallup's at 13. Uh
Yeah, so Gallup is the number two this week. Might be the number one because CeeDee Lamb is working through the concussion.
yeah, so I mean that's one little check mark, but it's still I feel like a lot of things have to go right for Rob Matz. And I honestly I would probably play Hurts over Brady at this point. Hurts just going against the Giants, I think is a really good matchup. And they are committed
Yeah,
to running the ball. I mean, 18 carries last week. Jesus. I know they got up quick, but and then Houston defense. I mean, I guess they played well the last two
it
weeks,
makes
but
sense. You're playing the Jets. Like it's
still,
an ugly play, but
it reminds me of like the two starting 2-0 from home. It just I don't know. Trusting just bad teams, scary. Uh, you never know, you know.
yeah,
And I like Buffalo versus New Orleans a lot more now that New Orleans is basically like I don't even know. I guess they want Taysom Hill to start, but I don't. It's Saints are just a mess. Uh,
yeah.
they're another team with just injuries. That's just
I'm looking to see if they're available. Because if they are, I would actually my top like I would play the Jacksonville Jaguars defense this week against Atlanta.
oh yeah. There's a lot of good defensive matchups right now. Panthers versus Miami. I guess Miami's turning it on a little bit, but I mean Panthers defense got 7 points and played like doo doo last week, and then Cincinnati versus
Yeah,
Pittsburgh. I mean honestly, Washington versus Seattle. Seattle looks like a hot mess. But yeah, I don't know. Trusting the Houston defense is scary, uh, even if
yeah, it
they've
is.
looked good. Um, so you have a player you're leaning towards. I think we're probably on the same side here.
I'm gonna go with Snowball because CMC is just so like he's just a cheat code.
Yeah, and he's definitely looks healthy.
Yeah,
And I'm
which
going
is
same
good.
side. Yeah, I'm not think Rob can't win, but a lot of things just have to go his way. Um, and that starts with CeeDee Lamb going out. So we'll see. But yeah, I mean the bench is still okay for Snowball. So
Yeah,
let's move on. And you're playing Tony Beats, primed to get the W. Cam
hopefully
Newton.
it'd be nice to finally get my first win of the season. 12 weeks in.
Yeah,
Um,
man.
Clyde is on the bye, which is good news for me. And Jonathan Taylor does play Tampa Bay, so maybe Taylor's streak of 100 yards and a touchdown can end. Uh, he doesn't have Cooper, which is fantastic. And I
And no
mean, even
kicker.
though what?
No kicker still.
Yeah, still no kicker. Um, Vegas has actually been like surprisingly still pretty good against quarterbacks. I mean, minus that Kansas City game, like they've done pretty well so far.
Yeah, but it's going to be a bounce back game for Dak, but we'll see. He'll definitely get more than 0.64 points. Uh,
Yeah.
but I like your chances. Cam versus Miami, a little bit scary, just with how well Miami played against Lamar Jackson with the blitzing. But then you got Miami's defense, which is a nice little counteract. I like seeing Pollard. Pollard broke out last week a little bit. Looked like he was finally like getting. At least I saw he got like two big runs, 8 points.
Well, he was
Not a
getting
lot,
touches
but
because, as I said, like Zeke's banged up. They've not said if he's health. Like they've not said like really what's wrong, but he's just kind of sounds like he's just banged up. So it sounds like he'll play, but Pollard might get a little bit more use this week.
yeah, I just remember seeing one big play, and it looks like he at least did well in terms of yardage for himself. So Vegas, I mean, I think that could be. You say every game's going to be like a nice, fun shootout, but I think that actually game could be a shootout. Maybe not that close, but definitely a lot of points. Whether it helps you that not that much, I think it would. Just because he's not going to have Cooper, so
Yeah,
uh, that limits it a little bit.
I'm gonna go with myself. Give myself confidence for the first time in weeks that
Yeah,
I can win, and I'm hopeful.
who's your backup plan if AJ Brown is out? Are you going with Tony
I'll
or are you
probably
going to
go
pick
with
someone out?
Tony. I'll probably go with Tony. Um, just because I don't really want to drop anyone on this team right now. And as ugly as Tony's game was last week, with like 7 receptions for 40 yards, I can't imagine it being much worse. And he is probably the most targeted receiver on the team, which is that. I mean, just giving him an opportunity, even if it's against the Eagles, I think is just huge.
Yeah. Plus, he showed off his arm Monday. He has a cannon. He threw it like 50 yards with like no issue. So maybe he'll get a passing touchdown out of it. Yeah, I'm going with you too. Let's see it. Let's see the W. And then we got
Yeah.
a heavyweight matchup. Got Greg versus Nick P. Two
Oh,
nine
the
and two
nine and twos.
teams, and Nick's still on a 9 game win streak. So what do you, man? Okay, what do you like? What do you dislike?
Um, well, for he finally no longer has James Conner, which James
Yeah,
Conner has really carried him this year to staying like we both hated on James Conner like all season, but like he is the number 5 running back right now.
it's
Um,
crazy.
so like that's a big loss for him this week. I do think Ramondre Stevens has a good week. And as we both said, as you said earlier, the Eagles have kind of committed themselves to the run. And with Howard injured, Boston Scott should get some workload. And if he can just put up like 4 points, that's really all he's needed all year, because he's just had great wide receiver play out of Adams. And so,
Yeah,
he also does have Kelsey on the bye. This might be the week that he loses his win streak.
yeah. It doesn't look great. The one thing I would say, just the fact that Greg's team is so dependent on the Vikings, Cook, Cousins, and Thielen. And San Francisco looks really good. San Francisco's defense like looks like,
Yeah,
I'm not gonna say as good as
they
their Super Bowl year, but
they look like what I was expecting them to look like this season.
Yeah, and generally this is, hey, everyone's loving Minnesota, and whenever you expect them to win, they lose, and whenever you expect them to lose, they win. So I feel like this is a game that like people are hyping the Cousins train, and it's just not going to work out, maybe. But you never know. Maybe Cousins proves us wrong again. Because it's like you say, oh, I expect them to win, so that way they're going to lose, but then you're
Yeah.
expecting them to lose, and then they win, right? You all
I
right?
was just
Connection.
I was just looking at the team. You there?
Yeah, I'm there. I'm there.
Okay. Uh, just looking at them, I agree with you. Like with them being dependent on the Vikings and playing San Francisco this week, and uh, I know Green Bay gave up a lot of points last week, but I don't see that happening again against the Rams. Like I know it's another great offense, but it's the Green Bay defense has played really well. I just think last week was more of a anomaly, and I don't expect Henderson to have a fantastic game.
Yeah.
Um, I'm actually going to lean towards Nick P to keep his win streak alive.
Okay. Yeah, the Green Bay had Rashawn Gary out, which was like a lot of people were pointing to a big reason why they couldn't get any pass rush. But another reason why I'm like a little bit skittish, Tyler Lockett. I mean, Seahawks just looked like bad. Yeah, he had his points. But Tyler Lockett at
Again,
the
it's like I said last week. Like Seattle's looking bad right now, especially on offense, because Russell Wilson is not healthy yet.
Yeah, and Lockett at the end in his presser on Monday was saying that everyone's doing something different for us and we can't adjust. So it sounds like the coaching just like can't figure it out, and like Pete Carroll looks like uh totally done. Like was his if you watch his presser, it's like pretty hard to watch. I feel kind of bad for him. It's basically like I can't figure it out. Um, but I'm gonna, despite bashing pretty much everything on Greg's side, I think I'll take the opposite side, so we have a little bit of fun here. And just no James Conner. He's the lucky charm. Once he's out, it's over for Nick P. But who knows? Maybe Josh Allen will put up 40 points on Thanksgiving again. I think he did this last year. So, um,
Well, it'll give us something to root for in this game.
yeah. And then we go on to the strange, who really wanted stats. And wait, oh my god. Okay, I was gonna say, because I was like, hell, he's Mahomes. I have a good stat from Mahomes, and this is crazy. This is not fantasy, but Mahomes is 38-1 when the Chiefs let up less than 27 points, which is fucking crazy. He's lost once to the Colts with Jacoby Brissett. But now he's starting Heineke. So let's see how this goes against Chris Smart, who's making, I guess, a last gasp, but not looking like it's going to work out. What do you like? What do you dislike?
No, um, I mean, Chris has a bunch of stuff he still needs to set on his roster, but I can't imagine him doing enough for me to think that he's going to be able to win this week. Like Connor's team, it's the entire roster is perfect to play this week. Um, like I know it's Tampa Bay versus Indy, which like I think Tampa Bay can still pull it out. Tucker's consistent. Running backs of Nixon, Chubb, and Eckler. Nixon, I think, was like the number 6 running, like number. He was like
He was crazy
kind of
last
far
week.
down there, but he finished as like no one talked about him, but he finished with 24 points last week, and he's had 20 the past 3 weeks. But like no one's talking about how good Nixon is playing right now.
He carried them last week. It was crazy.
But that's Connor's number 3 running back right now. Austin Eckler's been incredible. Nick Chubb's incredible, and I can't imagine Chris going out there and finding a because I don't think again I don't like Russell Wilson, so I think you need to find a different guy there. You got Michael Carter out, you got Hopkins on the bye. I think Mooney's a good play. I think Pitts is a good play, but then you got Williams on a bye, and even if he wasn't on a bye, I don't think you can play him. Ravens against Cleveland. don't really trust the Ravens defense in that game. And so I think he at this point, like, he'd have to basically go out there and, like, you have to go find, personally, like, at least one running back, a wide receiver, and a flex, and a quarterback and a defense. And I just don't think he's going to be able to find enough pieces that would be able to match up against Lestrange.
Yeah, it's unfortunate to be honest that like Ertz is on bye because I was gonna say maybe you just put Ertz into the flex and then Judy in the receiver. But his running backs, Adrian Peterson got cut, so he's done. So it's just kind of fallen apart for him, and that's sort of bad week with all the buys and the injury to Michael Carter. And I'm sort of in the same boat where it's just your running backs are tough, and you're going against probably the team with the best running backs in the league. And Debo Samuel's basically like I heard one guy talking about Debo Samuel should be an MVP candidate just because he is literally like their entire offense. Um,
Yeah.
because he's insane this year. I mean, he's like their best receiver and running back. And then his best. I actually really like Baltimore defense versus Cleveland just because Baker looks like crap. If
Yeah,
he's
that's
hurt,
true.
if they can like force him into some turnovers, maybe they can get like 15 points. But even if you get 15 points, I mean, what Tampa Bay is going to get like at worst 4 or 5 points and probably more because Carson Wentz, he's due for like a weird game. Um, it's just
Even if
gonna,
he's not, he typically throw. I feel like Wentz has been throwing like one a game basically.
yeah. I think last week he got away with nothing, but that was because he basically just gave the ball to Jonathan Taylor.
Yeah.
Um, but I mean, the only positive for Chris I'd say it's like the QB option's easy. I guess I would put
Yeah, I
Stafford
forgot that
over.
he had Stafford in there.
But like, do you? I don't know. It's Wilson. Do you just ride with Wilson? I mean, he named his team after Wilson. But
No, I
uh,
think you have to start like, even though Stafford's not looked good in his last two games.
yeah, but he's going against a
Um,
much better defense. So it's like,
yeah, but
it's it.
Stafford is at least healthy.
Yeah,
Like, Russell Wilson's out. Like, you see him throw the ball. It's just like, that's not Russell Wilson throwing the ball.
and something's up in Seattle in general.
I think this is the last year for that entire Seattle team. I think Wilson's out of there after this year. I think you're going to see Carroll retire.
Yeah, I
I
think
think Parsons is done.
it's brutal because you want to go full rebuild, but um, I know this year they don't have their first round draft pick. I'm not sure if next year they do from the Jamal Adams trade, but they'll be giving
Yeah.
up what looks like a top 10 pick to the Jets this year unless they start to turn it around a little bit. Um, it's nice that it's Jerry Judy, but besides that, it's going to be tough. Yeah, so I'm assuming we're
And
both in
the
the same.
Chargers aren't a great matchup.
Yeah, but at least you can get some points, I hope. Right? Uh, so I guess we're both on the strangest side here.
Yeah, we're both on the strangest side. I will say I'm actually a little shocked that Denver went out and gave a big money contract to both Tim Patrick and Sutton.
I saw the Sutton one, and then
Um,
I like saw someone wrote, "Oh, they gave another big contract." I was like, "Did they extend Judy already?" I was like, "What?" And I saw Tim Patrick, and I was like, "Holy shit!" So they're gonna have
yeah,
Judy, Sutton.
Russell Wilson. I mean, I think Denver next year is going after Russell Wilson and Aaron Rodgers. They're
I
going to get one of
see.
them.
They're extending these guys to try to get the one of the quarterbacks there. Yeah, it sounds like it's gonna be
Yeah,
Denver, Pittsburgh, and then one other team. I forget who people were rumoring to try to get one of the top two quarterbacks, but people have been throwing around
I think
Cleveland, but I
Carolina
don't
might be
think
in the mix.
we'll see. Um,
Washington,
Washington. There's a lot of teams. It'll be interesting. This is going to be one of the best off seasons in a while.
especially because the draft for quarterbacks is the worst it's been in a very long time.
Yeah, and I could see like a team like the Giants, but I'm not sure if anyone wants to go to the Giants. Um,
They have talented wide receivers.
yeah, but I think the same issue with Carolina. Their O line is a mess.
Not there.
Um, Anything else you want to bring up?
Uh, I don't have anything. I guess we can take a quick look at the standings for the year.
Yeah,
See where we're at after last week.
I dropped out of the playoffs. Brutal.
Yep. Oh, this is I thought I need Kuzi to win to get into the playoffs for me to have my prediction right. But
Yeah, it's gonna be a big week.
man,
Snowball going against McDonald's, and I need a win, but it doesn't look like a very good likelihood here. And then, yeah, if Alex can beat Stein, he's probably in. So, or
yeah,
at least in a very good spot, especially with his total points just being so high. He's going to win all the tiebreakers.
yeah,
So that's good for him. Whereas I'm a little bit closer with everyone else. And then we might see a team, everyone with a win after this week. Let's pray.
hey, I'm perfectly okay going 0 and 14. I just got to win the
Just
playoff
got to win the
weeks.
playoffs.
That's all I'm worried about.
Yeah, and then just one thing: Lestrange's point total is absurd. Uh, yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Anything else?
Nope.
All right, guys. We'll see you next week. Enjoy Thanksgiving.